So, all right. So we found out they had to evacuate the White House over the weekend because a suspicious bag of white powder was found somewhere inside the White House. Now, normally, when you hear about suspicious white powder and being sent to a politician, any politician, the first thing you think of is anthrax. There's some lunatic who's either threatening with some fake anthrax or using real anthrax to try and off a politician they don't like. That's with any other White House except this one. When you hear white powder and the Biden White House, you're not thinking anthrax. You're thinking cocaine. Let's be honest. That's what we all kind of thought right off the bat when you heard the story about the white powder in that house. Reason being, look, we all know why. First of all, it was about 2 weeks ago, we had the topless trans man or trans female in front of the White House. This is the same people who are supposed to restore dignity and statesmanship to the White House. So we got hookers and blow at the White House now. We got evidence that it's actually been there. So look, it's a national embarrassment. But the media tried to do their best to spin this and protect the Bidens, and it's just not happening. At first, they were just saying that it wasn't cocaine. It could be anything. It could be, Tide detergent, whatever. But we know it can't be cocaine. Why would you think it's cocaine? Then it turned out to be cocaine. Then they were like, well, maybe it's the medicinal form of cocaine that, people use when they about to go, I guess, for an operation, to relax them, whatever. That's actual crap I heard from posters on the internet. Then it turned out to be, it's the illegal form of cocaine. But so what? People pass through the White House all the time. There's tours, there are parties. Someone can be comfortable walking around with cocaine on them into a highly secure environment like the White House. I mean, that could happen to anybody. It could be anyone, except this guy. Well, let's talk about it. Hello, everyone. This is Keith. Welcome to the Ghetto Sapien channel, your home of inner city intelligence. So they found a bag of cocaine in the White House. They didn't want to say where it is because that really matters, the location of the drug. So that's the last thing they let out. At first they said it was in a library, which is a public area, I believe. There should be cameras too, though. But then they corrected later on, said it was in the West Wing. I don't know how you get that mixed up. How many bags of cocaine are in the White House? There's the West Wing cocaine bag, and then there's one that's right under the desk in the Oval Office. I mean, come on. You found a bag of cocaine. It should be pretty clear where it is. They've turned whoever did it turned the White House into, like, I'd say a crime scene. Because look, if there's a bag of cocaine on you, that's a crime scene. If there's a bag of cocaine in your car, on the bus, the whole bus becomes a crime scene because it is a crime. You're breaking the law. You're not supposed to have illegal drugs, and they're in the place where law is supposed to matter most, in the White House. It's the executive branch. They're in charge of enforcing the law judiciously and evenly, and they got a crime going right in the center, the heart of the law and order of the United States. I think it speaks volumes of where we are as a country right now. And I'm sure other countries are looking at us and laughing their ass off. I mean, just again, about 3 weeks ago, we had a topless trans male in front of the White House. Yeah, no one's seen that. That's not going to be embarrassing for the country, right? That's bringing dignity and pride back to the White House. Just hookers and blow, right? It is just it's a clown show, to be honest. I'm sure other countries just look at us and just shake their head at the level of embarrassment this the Biden family's brought to the White House of the United States. And it wasn't too long ago that Biden thought that just about any drug dealing or drug usage was a crime. I mean, check him out here in 1993. Dude was coming out hard against drugs.
We must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth.
What matters is if they have my last name. Now that matters.
It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no back.
Except if, their mom's a stripper and my son knocked them up, then you can't get my last name.
Background that enabled them to become socialized into the.
He's getting brain farts in 1993. Wow, we really should have examined this guy a little better.
Fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons.
Look, I just want to point something out. Biden is not wrong about the violence that the drug addicts will bring down on you if you get between them and their drugs. What he ignores is, and a lot of people do this, is if you don't live in those neighborhoods where there's heavy drug usage, you don't see the violence the drug dealers bring to the neighborhood. The bags of cocaine and marijuana and all that, they don't arrive to these neighborhoods unbloodied. There's a lot of violence and death behind each bag, each gram, each nickel bag of drugs or cocaine or marijuana that passes through the neighborhood. I live around a corner. I mean, I've seen drugs since I was a little kid. Around the corner from my house was the methadone clinic. I've seen people, what heroin does to a person. I've personally have lost friends to drugs, drug usage, or drug dealing. It's a violent and dangerous industry. So that bag of cocaine that was in the White House represents death, to be honest. Not just to the person who uses it and could OD on it, OD on it. Just the production and the transportation, people die in the drug trade. And that's why this should really be taken seriously, that it actually made it all the way into the White House. It's disgusting because, again, it represents violence and death. It's not just something to joke about, even though I'm kind of joking about it a little bit because it just, what else can you do when it's reached this far? That the corruption's so bad that they're comfortable bringing illegal drugs into the White House. Just disgusting.
So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should.
All right, I'm not going to belabor this too much. Biden goes on to say the violent drug addicts are without conscience. They are beyond the pale. They come from single-parent households and things like that. Here's the irony. Both of his kids are drug addicts. I mean, and a common denominator is dad. Hunter's from one mother. His sister Ashley's from another mother. Both have issues with sexual deviancy and heavy drug usage. And it ain't because, in this case, it's single parenthood, which I'm not a fan of single parenthood at all. It does have all sorts of problems. But Biden, ironically, is there railing on about how horrible single parents are, parenthood is, and I guess he's tying it to drug usage, which stats do kind of show that. But he is also proof that you can have children coming out of a two-parent household and they come out completely effed up. Now, the reason why Biden's kids are so screwed up is because he did it. He abused his kids. I mean, you go read Ashley Biden's diary and see for yourself. You can also look at their behavior. Again, heavy drug usage, lots of sexual deviancy because I think they were abused. So Biden produced two drug addicts himself. He should really look in the mirror before he goes on these long tirades about how horrible and violent the drug addicts are. The violence is one thing, but what I think it can be, I think we could do a lot to monitor, to do something about the household where where a lot of the drug usage comes from. I don't mean government can't do much, but I mean as a society, we can try and endorse marriage and stable households, which I think would reduce the amount of drug addicts out there and drug usage. It's never going to go down to zero, but you can do a lot with a stable household. That ain't like the Bidens. That's an unstable, nightmare that I'm sure Hunter and Ashley tried to tried to use drugs to forget about what probably happened to them. The naked showers and stuff. Cocaine might seem kind of good after that crap. Anyway, it's I'm just speechless. It's just amazing that again we found drugs in the White House. Cameras are everywhere too. You think that by now we know who brought the drugs in. If it was a visitor, if it was someone they invited over who just, I guess, felt comfortable enough to carry drugs into the White House, that would show up on a camera. It was in a public area. So when they said in the beginning that it was found in the library, immediately you think it should show up on a camera. And then they corrected themselves a couple hours or a day or two later that it was in a West Wing, which I don't believe are covered with cameras. So that would mean it's not somewhere the public has access to. So it's someone inside the White House, which again we're going back to Hunter. If they want to find out who it is, they'll find out. And if it was somebody who wasn't Hunter, you'd know by now. Look at January 6th. They had, about 14,000 hours of videos. There are cameras all over D.C., inside the Capitol as well. You saw Nancy Pelosi strolling around with her daughter. There's cameras everywhere. They could pick something up like that. But again, if they don't want to find out who it is, they won't. If they want to find out, they will. With the January 6 guys, they use cameras. They use geolocators or cell phones to find out where people were. They got bank records from Wells Fargo to find out who was using their cards for hotels or Airbnb in the area, and they went after them. So they can find you if they want to. The pipe bomber for January 6th, can't find him. He was on camera. They can't find him. They can't find the person who leaked the Roe versus Wade decision for Supreme Court. So again, if they want to find you, they find you. If they don't want to find you, they're never going to find you because they're trying to protect you. And in this case, I think it's Hunter. This might be just another cry for help. He's trying to sabotage his father or himself. Maybe because of what happened to him. Because leaving a laptop, he must have known what was on the laptop. That seems to be self-destructive. Throwing a gun away outside of a school, that's self-destructive. Lying on his background check for the gun and leaving his bag of cocaine, I think also just another cry for help. I think he's just self-destructive because he's had a horrible childhood. Look, he's an adult. Don't feel sorry for him now. I mean, he should have gotten therapy. If his father really loved him, he would have sent him into therapy to try and do whatever he could. Look, I've had family members who've been on drugs and had to go to therapy, and therapy can do wonderful things because this family member's never gone back on the drugs. So I've had, you know, a whole lot of personal interactions with illegal drugs, again, coming from the neighborhood and whatnot. So that's what you do when you love somebody. You don't give a drug addict access to millions of dollars and watch them destroy themselves. So to me, this all goes back to Biden running a very horrible household. This is all a reflection of it. It's also reflected in his governance of the country. That's why we are who we are today. Anyway, that is my comment on this. What's yours? Like, share, comment, and subscribe.